Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Gopi Jana Vallabha Giridharadhari. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Giridharadhari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Giridharadhari. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Guru Premanande. Nope. Jai Jai Shri Chaitanya Jai Nityananda, Jai Dvaita Chandra Jai Gora Bhakta Vrinda, Jai Jai Shri Chaitanya Jai Nityananda, Jai Dvaita Chandra Jai Gora Bhakta Vrinda, Jai Jai Shri Chaitanya Jai Nityananda, Jai Dvaita Chandra Jai Gora Bhakta Vrinda. Om Jnana Timirandasya Gnanana Shlaka Chakshurmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Namo Vishnu Paraya Krishna Prishna Bhutale Shri Bhaktivedanta Swami Namo Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauramani Pracharim Devi Shashunyavali Paschati Reshatani Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Today is very auspicious day, very powerful, potent, encouraging for spiritual practice. So this is why I thought maybe we can discuss a little bit more about the day of Ekadashi, what is Ekadashi, and the way we are going to connect it to what we are supposed to discuss here, Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, is that there is one little description given also in the Adi Lila, but this is in 15th chapter, now we are on 4th, where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is making one request. So we will start with this, and then we will elaborate a little bit more why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu made that request and what it means to follow Ekadashi and what is Ekadashi, who is Ekadashi. So that hopefully we also get inspired to do something on this day, a little bit more, something more spiritual, so that we can all have more benefits and have higher consciousness. So once, when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was still studying, so that means he was like Poganda Lila. So that's age. What's the Poganda? Very small. What is that? Kishora, Poganda? At different ages. Well, he was He was still studying, whatever, or he started studying, or he was a young age, let's put it this way. So his brother was still living at home, and his father was still present. So one day he approached his mother, and he requested her, "My dear mother, please give me one charity. I'm just requesting this one thing from you." Then, of course, his mother replied, "Anything that you wish, I will fulfill." And then he said, "I'm just requesting you, please don't eat grains on this Ekadashi day." And then she said, "Okay, so from now on I will follow." So there is a description that even though the food may be offered to Lord Vishnu with the grains, but still devotees should not accept that food at that point. They can maybe take it next day, they can keep it for the next day, but at that point, or that day, on Ekadashi day, they should not take grains, even though it might be Vishnu or Krishna Prasad. So Mother Sachi, she also then made that vow, and then she was not taking any grains. And it is described by Srila Prabhupada in the purport. He says that it seems like there was some Smarta Brahman custom that only those who were kind of like widows should practice Ekadashi Vrata. So therefore nobody else was following Ekadashi Vrata. But he pointed out that from day on, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he said that everybody should practice Ekadashi Vrata. And it's not just that there is some discrimination between certain position or certain condition of someone, that everybody should follow Ekadashi Vrata. So Ekadashi is very, very essential Vrata, and now we will explain a little bit more why that is so. But also in connection to this Mahaprasadam that contains grains. It was interesting once Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. It's a weird sound, no? Yeah, so now what? Yeah, before we didn't have this nonsense going on. No, it was far better. I don't know, it's a different speaker or what. Anyway, so, and now, sabotage. Now you can't hear anything. Neither I can say. Oh, careful. So when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was in Jagannath Puri, we know that to Lord Jagannath, there are so many 56 items being offered all the time. It says that Jagannath's hand never gets dry. He keeps on eating. So much Mahaprasad. And now the Ekadashi came, and our devotees were bewildered what to do. There's so much Mahaprasadam available. If we disrespect Mahaprasadam, we don't take Mahaprasadam, that's also an offense. It's like we know there's another story in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Once Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to visit Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, he was the greatest scholar. Said he was the expansion of Brihaspati himself. He was unconquerable. He was just extremely learned. And of course, he was following different principles before he started practicing Bhakti Yoga. So then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came one early morning, and then he brought some Jagannath Mahaprasadam. And before, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was having opportunity to take bath even after rising. And then he took that Mahaprasada, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was astonished that, oh, how is this? You didn't even brush your teeth, you didn't take bath, you took Mahaprasadam. So he said it's more important to take Mahaprasadam, to honor Mahaprasadam than perform any other activities. So Mahaprasadam is so important. So devotees were wondering that what are we going to do now? There is so much Mahaprasadam, and we are supposed to follow Ekadashi. So they were bewildered. So then they asked Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, okay, this is what we're going to do. Whenever the Mahaprasadam passes by, and we know that sometimes those pandas or people, who carry Mahaprasadam, they carry pots, they carry in Jagannath Puri. Who have been to Jagannath Puri? Not too many. Okay, maybe you should plan something. Yeah, okay. But then you will see so much Mahaprasadam. Of course, we should not talk too much about Mahaprasadam. Hope somebody is not getting disturbed now on this Ekadashi day. So. So then, when one devotee like this was carrying, one pujari was carrying so much Mahaprasadam, then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, what he did? He just prostrated himself, he offered dandavats. And then he said, this is how we are going to honor Mahaprasadam. Haribo. So no eating, following Ekadashi, fasting. And if you see Mahaprasadam, somebody has, you just offer pranam, offer dandavats. That's all. So this is how he reconciled the dilemma that devotees were having. What do we do? There's so much Maha, we have to honor. Yes, you honor by offering dandavats. And then, of course, if there is a chance, then maybe next day something is left or whatever. Some other arrangement, then you can have it. Not on Ekadashi day. Because it's very interesting on this day. Like, let's say there are certain vibrations, there are certain influences, and something can be affected as such. Let's say there is some radiation. So that radiation is for a particular period of time. And when something is radiated, you're not supposed to have it because it's radiated. It's not healthy, right? So like this, on this Ekadashi, there is a very negative energy radiating, especially in relationship to the grains. And then if we eat those grains at that point, auspicious point, then it affects us in a negative way. So we will explain this. Let's see how much time we have. Can't we do something with this sound? It's like really weird, no? It's like, it's worse than ego or something. It's like, oh, but maybe it's Ekadashi, something happened. I don't know. It's like something that, huh? Yeah, this may be a little better. Still, anyway, keep on trying. Let's see what happens. So we follow Ekadashi because main thing, of course, as we said, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu instructed us to do so. And there are many various reasons why we should follow Ekadashi. But one of the major reasons I'll just present right now in the beginning is because Srimati Radharani instructed this. So Srimati Radharani, she said that we should follow Ekadashi. So it's not just that it's from the time of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. It's from time immemorial practically. Many great personalities have been following Ekadashi. Anybody knows? Anybody ever heard of anyone following Ekadashi in the Shastra? Ambarish Maharaj, okay, we know story of Ambarish Maharaj and Durvasa Muni cursing him for thinking that he had broken fast before him, and it was already Paran time arriving, so he took water. So water is considered breaking and non-breaking. So that's a famous story, 9th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Anybody else? We know anybody else following Ekadashi? Pandavas? Okay, Ramachandra has been following Ekadashi. Though he didn't have to, but acting as Maryada Purushottam, he showed the perfect example. So, Lord Shiva, yes, what's the story? Why you said Lord Shiva? Just like that. You heard, okay. Well, when Lord Brahma head was severed, he was stuck to his hand. They couldn't get rid of that sin. So then when he followed Ekadashi, then he was released from it. Okay, King Harishchandra, now everybody knows the story. So he got everything back when he followed Ekadashi. Nanda Baba, of course, all the Vrajabasis, they follow Ekadashi. Huh? He also did, very nice. Okay, I was like. So Ekadashi is very important to follow. It's not just something recent. Because it is explained Eka Dasi, Dasi, in a feminine form. So Eka means one, Das 10, so that's 11. So what means 11? 11 corresponds to 11 senses. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj, who was Siddhanta, Bhakti Siddhanta, was very well conversant with the astronomy and astrology. So he delivered one lecture on Radhakund explaining details about Ekadashi and why we should follow Ekadashi. So he said that all our tanmendriyas, gyanendriyas, and the mind, who is the central pivotal sense, become disturbed on that Ekadashi day because like we know, when the moon and tides, the water level rises, and this disturbs our senses and then increases the propensity to enjoy. So that means sensual propensities. And then, of course, when we are agitated by sensual propensities and that idea of enjoyment, then how much we can concentrate on spiritual life. So therefore it is says that if we fast on Ekadashi, that lusty propensity, passionate propensity becomes destroyed. Just like all the negative energy in the body, elements in the body, like different toxins, so many negative things, they also become burned if we fast on Ekadashi. Of course, so therefore it has so many healthy benefits, but the greatest benefits is the benefit of spiritual practice, because then we minimize material needs or necessities of the body, and we increase spiritual needs and activities and receive more of the spiritual benefits. So that's why then the mind becomes very, very peaceful. Of course, you may somebody who may start practicing Ekadashi at the beginning, if you say, please fast or something, the mind can become disturbed, that, oh, agitated, how is this possible? Every moment I'm thinking about eating something or whatever, you know. But that's just in the beginning. Later on, if one is engaged in devotional service, then one won't even notice, and the mind will be very focused and very fixed, and it will receive so many benefits of following Ekadashi or performing devotional service. So it destroys all the contamination, it pacifies the mind, and of course grants so much benefit of being able to serve Krishna, because what is the purpose of our existence? Is it to serve senses, or it's to serve Krishna? So this is why it's also essential that on this day, Krishna, especially on Ekadashis, demands more attention, because he also gets agitated. He also gets agitated, he gets disturbed, his mind becomes disturbed. So he demands more attention from us. He wants more of our hearing, he wants more of our chanting, he wants more of our reading, he wants more of our performing devotional service. Just like a little child demands so much attention, no? So Krishna demands so much attention from us that we are engaged in that devotional service, which is our eternal Siddha Swarup, is our eternal position. So he demands more attention also on this day. So that's why Ekadashi is advised to be followed if we want to advance in spiritual life. So now just coming back to what I mentioned about Srimati Radharani, there was some group of gopis, young gopis who had appeared in Braja, and those gopis were known as Yagyasitas. Anybody knows who were Yagyasitas? There were so many groups of devotees, there were so many apsaras that took a form of a gopi or appeared in Braja. There were so many, even in Ramayana, there are so many Aboriginal women who became attracted to Lord Ram, but then he said, no, you will marry me, or you can have my association in next incarnation when I come. And there were sages of Dandakaranya, they became gopis, and there were some Agni's daughters, they became gopis. Then there were so many different groups of gopis who newly appeared in Braja, and they needed, of course, so much more training to assume that position on the eternal level. So there were those gopis also, they were called Yagyasitas. So who were Yagyasitas? Anybody knows? Yagyasitas. No, you haven't heard of that. Now in Ramayana, so in Ramayana, it's described when Sita was banished, and then for Lord Ramachandra to perform any yagya, he would have to have his wife next to him, because you cannot perform yagya unless there is wife being present. So then what they did, they made the deities of Sita. Every time there was a different deity. And that deity is not different than Sita herself. It was expansion of Sita. So like we say, can we say the deity is different from Krishna? No, it's not different. So then all these different deities, they became manifested as gopis when Krishna appeared. And now they approached Srimati Radharani. How can we approach Krishna? How can we gain his attention? How can we have his relationship? How can we attain that relationship? How can we serve Krishna? So then Srimati Radharani started explaining that even demigods, even great sages, nobody can reach Krishna. Krishna is unreachable. He's just so much more exalted and qualified, and nobody can reach up to him. Just like it is said in Srimad Bhagavad Gita, that nobody knows Vidur Deva na Danava, neither Devas nor Danavas nor Rishis. Nobody knows Krishna. That's in 10th chapter, I think 10.2, 10.1. So nobody knows Krishna, nobody can approach Krishna, nobody can compare to Krishna. So then she said, but there is one way, then one can approach Krishna, and one can please Krishna, and one can practically even conquer Krishna. So she said that if you want to conquer Krishna, there is a way. Because what are we trying to do in spiritual life? Why do we practice spiritual life? That's the whole sole purpose of our spiritual practice. We're trying to approach Krishna. No, we're trying to serve Krishna. Of course, it's not just some motive that we want to conquer Krishna and misuse Krishna. That will never happen anyway. But conquering in the sense making Krishna subservient to the will of other devotees, for even Krishna's greater pleasure, to assist Krishna. So then Srimati Radharani pointed out, then one has to follow Ekadashi Vrata. So if one really wants to advance in spiritual life, one has to follow Ekadashi Vrata. Just like we hear that so many devotees have attained Krishna. How? By performing certain tapasyas, vratas, danas, this and that, some certain austerities. And what is that described as? What are those austerities? That doesn't mean going to Himalaya now, sitting in some cave, or standing in the freezing river or whatever. I don't know, so many different kinds of this and that. No, they're devotional austerities. Why we perform devotional austerities? Of course, first of all, to get rid of sin, to burn the sinful reactions, just like we said, that by performance of Ekadashi also one burns the sinful reactions. One becomes relieved from that burden. So by performing different devotional austerities, that's how one becomes relieved from sinful burden, and one can practice easily Krishna consciousness. And why austerity is important? Because there are 4 pillars of spiritual life, no? Just like your chairs have 4 legs, or this table has 4 legs. So everybody knows that. What are the 4 pillars of spiritual practice, or spiritual life, Dharma? What is it? Hands. We have some little norm here. If anybody wants to say something, that's a wrong answer. These are Purusharthas. Because there is a 5th one, not 4. Truthfulness, cleanliness, austerity, and honesty. Yes, these are 4 pillars of Dharma. So that's described in Srimad Bhagavatam. The bull of Dharma was beaten by Kali and Parikshit Maharaj came. Anyway, that's a very important, nice, but long story. So, why do we practice austerity? Somebody may say fasting on Ekadashi, that's an austerity. Yes, it is an austerity. Why do we practice that austerity? Why should we practice austerity? Any kind of austerity. Did anyone anywhere in the world at any point have achieved anything without practicing austerity? Somebody plays cricket without any practice, without renouncing any, without having particular diet, without so many different things. Can they achieve anything? Is it possible? Huh? It's not possible, of course. If you want to achieve anything in any sphere of life, you have to practice austerity. You have to renounce something and you have to endeavor a lot. You have to perfect whatever you want to do. So austerity is an important principle of life. So, and whichever way one has to endeavor and renounce something. So that's why it was wondered that how come Mother Yashoda has become mother of Krishna? Parikshit Maharaj is asking Shukadeva Goswami. And how come even Devaki and everybody, how they could achieve such a position, how they could achieve such a fortune to associate with Krishna so intimately. So therefore it is explained, or even the coward boys having chance to play with Krishna and so many other things. How did they achieve such kind of position? So it is explained because they perform enormous austerities. So what were those austerities? It's not like we think we have to do something special now, so kind of austerity. Austerity means just perfect our practice. So how do we perfect our practice? How do we perfect our bhakti so that we don't waste time in doing so many mundane activities? That is renunciation. That is what we may say, this is austerity. This is austerity. But actually it's not an austerity. It's not an austerity. Let's say if I tell you today, how many of you have checked the news? Huh? Have checked the news, what's going on today? Okay, someone did. Okay, how many of you have seen so many things on mobile, which has nothing to do with bhakti? Let's put it this way. No? I think that's maybe more relevant. Okay, a little more. So let's say you renounce this on the day of Ekadashi. You give a vow and say, I'm not going to be doing this because it's waste of time and has nothing to do with Krishna. So you can imagine any such kind of thing that has nothing to do with Krishna, and you give a vow on this day that I'm not going to waste my time and I'm not going to do this. You may say this is austerity. It's not an austerity. It's just pure devotional service. But we consider it austerity because we are so habituated to it. We're doing so many things that has nothing to do in relationship with Krishna. So that's why those who are pure devotees, how they became pure devotees, or how they were pure devotees, or whatever, if they're eternal nityasiddhas or whatever, they never waste time with anything that has nothing to do in connection with Krishna. So that's their austerity, so to say. Their austerity, you may say, what is austerity? For them it's normal, for us it's austerity. For them it's normal to rise in the morning, early morning. We say, oh, Mangalarti, that's an austerity. For them it's not austerity, for them that's normal. To chant japa. That said, there is no greater tapa than chanting japa and being focused on that. For us, it's tapa. For them, it's not. They're just naturally singing Krishna, 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 Krishna all the time. For us, it's tapasya, austerity. For them, it's not. So that's why we have to, following Ekadashi. Then we will say, oh, it's an austerity. No, it's not austerity. It's a natural thing for them. It's just so natural thing. So how did they achieve such position? Of course, they didn't have to achieve. They were always in some way Krishna conscious. But this is how it is described. They performed certain activities that were Krishna conscious activities. Certain austerities like this, we would say, okay, for our understanding, we would say, certain austerities. They perform certain austerities. So that's why also this Ekadashi Vrata may seem like some austerity. Oh, I have to, let's say, okay, on this day, should not do any work or any studies or anything that is not directly connected to Krishna. Is that possible? So that's why it's an austerity. How to manage this, how to work that out, how to do that. Maybe why not taking holiday on this day and just chant whole day and read whole day and serve whole day and hear whole day. So that's why we may perceive it as an austerity, but it's not really an austerity for someone who is Krishna conscious. So that's why at least, okay, it said as much as possible twice a month, and this Ekadashi day comes. And then at least twice a month we increase that devotional practice. So sometimes devotees chant more, they read more, anything more. And as we said, Krishna demands a little more attention, but we receive so many enormous benefits. Enormous benefits. That's why this Ekadashi Vrata is so unique. And Krishna has given it to us so that we may advance in devotional life. So Srimati Radharani continued just to inspire those Yagya gopis. So she told them that there are some principles and some rules, of course, to be followed if I want to gain this benefit. One should not associate with wicked persons, sinful persons, atheistic persons. One should be very cautious of certain association because of how will that inspire us to be Krishna conscious. No? That's one thing. And second, it will affect us. It will create so much negative karma. And then there are other principles, how to follow, how to practice. Anyway, I don't want to go into details of this. That's something that we generally do when we practice Ekadashi. I hope most of you know to some extent. If you don't, then we can discuss that after the class. So I'm not going to go into technicalities. So then she pointed out something that might be interesting. What are the values of this Ekadashi? How important that Ekadashi is? Of course, there is always do's and don'ts. One don't is also, just before we say what the do's are and benefits, then one should not follow Ekadashi, that's what Srimati Radharani was saying, on the Dasami day. What does that mean? When the Tithi of Ekadashi starts before sunrise, then it's contaminated by the Dasami. So the Tithis are shorter than the 24 hours. Tithi is according to moon, sunrise and sunset is according to sun. So if we mistake, like sometimes there are some calendars that say it's Ekadashi, might be starting Ekadashi with a Tithi, but it's not auspicious, it's contaminated. That's why it said it's just like you have a milk, but it's contaminated by the poison. Is it good to drink such a milk? No, it will have a poisonous effect. So therefore one should not fast on Dasami. So one should be very careful. So that's why we generally fast from sunrise to another sunrise. Those 24 hours, we fast like this. Because if you fast on Dasami, sometimes devotees are enthusiastic and they say, I will fast one day before and that day and day after or something like that. Or so many things may happen. That's concoction. That's not following the Shastra. Because Shastra says strictly no fasting on Dasami. One should not fast. And there are 3 examples that are given. It said that the demons gain strength when somebody fasts on Dasami. So you empower them, but what happens to you? You lose all the spiritual credits, all the piety. It's very dangerous. So one has to be very cautious. That's why different tithis and different timings, everything is given, when it's to be followed. So one has to be conscious of Shastra and follow the Shastra like this. Because otherwise we were talking about Sita Devi. So Sita also once fasted on Dasami, and that's why she was banished. That's what's given as the reason. How come she, who is so perfect and everything, this and that, why this happened? So that was given as a reason, fasting on Dasami. Then why Indra was conquered and by Hiranyaksha, that's also described because Indra fasted on Dasami. So he was conquered by Hiranyaksha. The demigods took over the universe. Another instance. And then it is explained also, devotees were wondering why Dhritarashtra and Gandhari lost their 100 sons. So that's why it's explained. They fasted on Dasami. Pretty heavy. So you should be a little cautious with that. That is something that should be followed. Not some whimsically, okay, we are doing it now, we are doing it that time, this time. No, it has to be precise. So that's also something that particularity of how to perform something, that's also something that makes us Krishna conscious, because it makes us more focused, makes us more attentive, makes us more, again, Krishna conscious. Now you may say sometimes, okay, what if we miss? Anybody ever missed Ekadashi? No? Yeah, okay. I mean, even while practicing as a devotee, sometimes you travel or something happens, whatever you want. It might happen. Sometimes it's a little tricky, just like, anyway, now I was also coming, you come from the West, and the Ekadashi, when is Ekadashi, you know? Sometimes, is this day or it's that day or it's here? It's like, so it can be very tricky. Prabhupada said, wherever you are, if in Vrindavan that day is Ekadashi, you follow that day, then it's, that's Ekadashi, you follow that, you get the benefit. You think of Vrindavan. So that's like little relieving. Of course, you have to know when it's in Vrindavan. When it's Ekadashi in Vrindavan. You think like this. But of course, it's better if we are more precise. We know the exact timings according following the calendar. And if we miss Ekadashi, who ate, anyway, I want to ask this. If you ate grains today, you can fast tomorrow, no problem. That concession is given. So if you ate grains today, I'll explain why we should. Oh, it's time is running. Anyway, we'll see how much. There's so many stories to tell about Ekadashi. Anyway, maybe some other time, but it never it coincides with Wednesday. It's like, I don't know. Did it ever happen before? Last 1 year or something? No, when I was giving classes, not so often. That's yeah. Anyway. Okay, so what to do if you somehow or other, by maybe some mistake? I once blew it. I made a big mistake. Yeah, I remember now. Maybe I shouldn't say, but now I already did. So what to do? I was with my spiritual master in Jaipur, and there is Radha Govindaji temple, and of course I heard last 2-3 years they're not giving those ladus or something. I don't know what happened, but 20 years ago they were still giving. Even just a few years back, they had some Mahaprasadam ladus, and I was so enthusiastic to get that Mahaprasadam, and I got so many of those, and I came immediately presented to my spiritual master first. And then, of course, I was with that enthusiasm and everything, so he couldn't refuse. So he took and ate, and then he said, "Today's Ekadashi," And I said, "Oh no." Yeah. So then we also took ladus and said, "Okay, we'll fast day after tomorrow." We blew it, really messed up like anything. So one has to be careful. We might be into, like we said, the story in Jagannath Puri, there's so much Maha, this and that. Yeah, it's Maha, but we should be cautious. Not on Ekadashi. Not on Ekadashi. So how come they didn't follow? Maybe, I don't know, some different, again, TT calendar, something got mismatched. It wasn't the same day. So one has to be very cautious. So one also incident happened with Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada did fast, but devotees messed up. Devotees didn't. And early in the morning, they already had some grains on Ekadashi. And then they came in front of Srila Prabhupada after breakfast immediately. Said, what to do now? We just broke Ekadashi. Srila Prabhupada, what are we supposed to do? And then Srila Prabhupada got upset. He said, what is this? You don't even know when it's Ekadashi. So it is so important to understand when it's Ekadashi and follow the Ekadashi Vrat. And there was one devotee, Pradyumna, who is a very famous scholar, and said, what is the use of this Panditji? Here he can't even figure out when it's Ekadashi and when you're supposed to follow and everything. So then Srila Prabhupada was very considering, and just trying to encourage all the other devotees, and they kind of then he also decided that he's not going to be fasting Ekadashi that day, and he said we will all fast Ekadashi tomorrow. So that's another option that may happen. Of course, in the case we really don't follow, which we shouldn't. So then we may fast some other day. So that's why Srimati Radharani explains that all the vratas, that nothing can compare to fasting on Ekadashi. None of the yagyas, danas, vratas, they can't compare, she said, even to a Mount Meru, just fasting on Ekadashi day. Anybody knows how big is Mount Meru? Anybody knows the size of Mount Meru? What is it described in Shastra? I'll tell you what is beneath or within the Bhumandala. It's 16,000 yojanas. That's what it's kind of, its roots. And how much is it above? 84. And one yojana is about 8 miles. So you can calculate. So she said, all these vratas and tapas, whatever austerity you may think you want to do, whatever, cannot compare to following Ekadashi Vrata. And she said that much, going to holy places or all the pilgrimages sites or whatever here and there, this and that, cannot compare to following Ekadashi Vrata. She said also that by following Ekadashi Vrata, one delivers from his father's side 10 generations. From his mother's side, it delivers 10 generations. And it said that also wife, if she follows, then also yes, if one follows, then on the wife's side, 10 generations also delivered. How important Ekadashi is. And then even more so, she said that 1,000 Ashvamedha yagyas and 100 Rajasuya yagyas. Rajasuya is more difficult. That's like one emperor or a lifetime, maybe, if they're capable. If King Prithu, he couldn't perform 100. He did 99. You become Indra if you perform 100 Ashvamedha yagas. So he said 1,000 Ashvamedha yagas, 100 Rajasuya yagas cannot compare to 1/16 of following Ekadashi Vrata. And it is said also, she said that, and again reminding you, this is Srimati Radharani speaking, this is in Garga Samhita. So she said that the sins, we're talking about karma and sins, like big as Mount Meru, they're burned by following Ekadashi Vrata. So she was encouraging those Yagyasiddhas, of course, saying that this is how you approach Krishna, this is how you become purified, this is how you become qualified, just by following Ekadashi Vrata. So there are many stories. Last time there was Amalaki Ekadashi. So that's one story when Ekadashi appeared. There are 2 more stories about the appearance of Ekadashi that is given every time on Ekadashi Vrata. That's in Brahmanda Purana and Padma Purana. There are many descriptions. There's a lot about Ekadashi. There's a lot of encouragement to follow Ekadashi. Main thing is to understand that you just follow Ekadashi, you don't have to do anything else. Just follow Ekadashi. Just don't, first of all, at least just don't eat grains. There are different levels of following, different levels of austerity that you may perform. As we say, it's not really an austerity, but depending on our consciousness. I can say it's a devotional service or it's an austerity. But there are different levels of following. So as much as one can follow, one should. One derives greater benefit. Just like it is said, if you perform certain vrata on Ekadashi also, and you follow certain principles, you can also give this to someone else. You want to inspire somebody else to advance in devotional service and gain the spiritual taste and become relieved from sufferings of their own karma, you can pray to Krishna and give that merit to someone else. That's in Gita Mahatmya, that's in all the Puranas it's mentioned. There are so many cases. Also in so many of the stories of Ekadashi, so many kings or personalities have given that merit to others and they've been benefited by that and advanced in spiritual life. So one can do that as well. If you have trouble, somebody's preventing you from practicing Krishna consciousness, or it's not favorable towards it, just pray for them. Give them merit of Ekadashi Vrata and say that guaranteed practically. In 1 year, if you give that, they'll become a devotee. You can make an experiment. But you have to follow Ekadashi Vrata and pray for them and give them that credit. Pray to Krishna, of course, to give them that credit. You can make that experiment. So Ekadashi, it's such an important, you don't, as I said, you don't have to do anything else. That's why, again, reminding, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked his mother, can you please just follow this Ekadashi? course, with ease, she said. There's no issue. I will follow, because that is your request. So we are also requesting on behalf of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, please try to follow Ekadashi Vrata. Because all the sins are stored in the grains. Definitely don't eat grains. If you eat, it is said, there are some heavy statements. The eating grains on this day, it's equivalent to killing thousands of brahmanas and having so many illicit relationships and so many horrible, horrible, horrible sins. I won't even mention what it said. If one eats grains on Ekadashi day, very heavy, very heavy. These are really heavy things. So it's so detrimental to anyone's position, how sinful that is, but it's so beneficial if one follows. And that's why it is said that one should follow at least from age of 8 till 80. That is something that is given in the Shah. What's your age? Okay. So there shouldn't be any difficulty for one following. And before you, there's so many pastimes given in Shastra. Even sometimes recently when I was in Nepal, I said that previously kings, they would announce day before usually with the drums, they would go around and they would alert everybody. Tomorrow is Ekadashi. One should not eat grains. One should follow. Of course, they were not just not eating grains. They would do nirja. They wouldn't eat anything. They wouldn't drink anything. That's even better. You can do this. You get more benefit. You get so much more benefit. Because, again, if one eats grains, then all the sinful reactions are stored within those grains. There's a story of Papa Purusha in Padma Purana. You know the story? Papa Purusha is Vishnu created Papa Purusha is the sin personified. So all his body consisted of some kind of sin. Sin of this, sin of that. His eyes were sin of this, his ears were the performing sin of that, all kinds of things. It's all described. Some then minor sins were hairs on his body and whatever. So it was just very terrifying. And he had that yellow eyes and it was very black. Just imagine maybe some black animal with yellow eyes, except the cat. Even the cat, if you see black cat with yellow eyes, it's also a little terrifying. No? What to speak some other animal? Like, yeah, it's really terrifying. That's Papa Purusha. So he was created for purpose of punishing those who were sinful. Terrifying, And you don't see him in the dark, only eyes. So then he would punish everybody. But of course, to regulate him, then Vishnu created post of Yamaraj. So Yamaraj was having him under his control, just to regulate that he doesn't, get astray or get overwhelmed by punishing or over punishing someone or whatever. So there was a regulation. There are always some pros and cons to be considered. So, but then at some point, Vishnu came to Yamaraj's place and then he visited, but then he heard terrifying screams and cries and shouts. And then he said, what is this? And then Yamaraj said, oh, these are hellish planetary systems, as the people are being punished for their sinful reactions. So then Vishnu said, okay, let's see what's going on. And then when, those people being punished saw Vishnu, they started even screaming, shouting, and crying louder, pleading for help. It's pretty heavy. It's pretty heavy. Just imagine any little pain, what to speak, that pain that it's so intensified in the hellish planetary sphere. It's an extreme pain. So then Vishnu became compassionate. He said, so because they were praying and pleading, so then he manifested Ekadashi. And he said, anybody who follows Ekadashi will be relieved from all sinful reactions. They will practically become liberated and go back home, back to God. And Hari Bol. So then all the people started following Ekadashi and they started becoming liberated. But then Papa Purusha, he became disturbed that what am I going to do? I've left out somebody took my service. I don't have my service anymore. For devotee, service is the only means of expressing his love towards Krishna, right? You don't have service, how are you going to express your love towards Krishna? No? We know this is our dharma, to serve Krishna. If you can't serve Krishna, then what's the purpose of living? So he was very disturbed, he was very upset. He was crying, he was like very, very emotional. And he went to Vishnu, he was pleading that, what am I supposed to do? You gave me this service, now what am I supposed to do now? Everybody's getting liberated, this whole world is becoming empty, what will I do? So then Vishnu also showed compassion. He said, "Also, I'm also one of your, subjects. I'm also one of your beings, living beings. So I also need some place. And wherever I'm so terrified by this Ekadashi, wherever there's Ekadashi, I have no shelter. I have no place to go." So then Vishnu said, "Okay. Then on this day, Ekadashi, whoever eats the grains, then you may punish them. That will be your service." Because Papa Purusha also very intelligently pleaded. He said, if all this universe becomes liberated, how will you perform your pastimes? That's very intelligent. Because there is a difference between, anyway, we don't have time, between Golok and Gokul, no? Vrindavan. There's a difference. There's some things happening here on earthly Krishna's pastimes that don't happen there. No? And one of the major reasons, there are no demons there. Here they are. Krishna kills demons here. So Papa Purusha prayed, and what will you do? You also will not be able to perform your pastimes and give mercy in a certain way, and others won't have their free will and choice to exercise their freedom, whether to be in relationship or not with you. So that's why Krishna made this arrangement, said if you eat grains on this day, anybody eats grains on this day, then yes, you may punish them. So that's why we should be extremely, 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 extremely cautious. At least to that extent, not to eat grains. And of course, if we can practice a little more, if we can follow devotional principles, chant a little more, read a little more, then to even that extent, so much more greater. Of course, as I said, there are so many nice stories of Ekadashi appearing and benefits of Ekadashi. And today also there's one interesting story, Papa Mochan Ekadashi. But anyway, there's a story about one sage who was distracted by one apsara, and you can read that story. I guess it's all available now. And how they became relieved from this distraction. Both of them, they practice Ekadashi Vrata on this Papa Mochan Ekadashi. They achieve liberation. One interesting thing she said, he cursed her because she distracted him from his meditation. But she said one interesting thing. She said that the curse takes place after 7 days, if you're cursed. So you still have a 7 days, just like we know in case of Parikshit Maharaj, no? But the association with the saintly devotees take the effect immediately. So it's so much more powerful. The blessings and association. So that's why we should all on Ekadashi day come to temple, take association with devotees, as I said, chant more, read more, and advance in spiritual life. Okay, it's 9 o'clock, and let's stop here. Shri Ekadashi Vrata ki jai, Shri Chaitanya Charitamrita ki jai, Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Premananda. Any questions on this? Yes. 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 Yes, but the benefit is not as much. Gets benefit, but real fast, it said it starts day before, after sunset. So because usually in the evenings you're not supposed to have anything after sunset. That's another cultural principle. Yeah, but you can do that. You can do that, but that's a little concession. But if you do the other way, you get more benefit. That's the point. So anyway, just not to discourage you, they may say, yes, okay, you can do like that. But again, you have to be very careful about time. Yeah. Okay, what was it? I said. Yes, because devotees compete. They always push other devotees towards Krishna. They always encourage other devotees. So Krishna can relate to them. They don't want to push themselves, no? So when you practice something, that power of your austerity that you gain or something, that you can inspire others or present others to Krishna. So that's what devotees want. They're not doing that for themselves. They even gain greater pleasure by presenting others to Krishna. Okay? Okay, when we break up, if you've done nirjal, you can just break with water. If you didn't do nirjal, then you have to take rain. Of course, it should be prashad. You know, whenever you're supposed to have bhoga or something, so always take prashadam. No, you offer something, offer fruit, offer something, offer keep something from the next day. I mean, day before or whatever. You know, keep some piece, something a little bit. Make sure that you. That's another point of being Krishna conscious. Oh, Ekadashi is coming. I have to make sure that I keep some prasadam for the day after, so I can break it. No? Yes. Yes. You will not be able to deliver yourself. Krishna will deliver. Not you. Krishna will deliver. It's a matter of time. He already delivered practically. We just don't know it. So Prabhupada gives blessing. Anybody remaining in the process, no matter what condition they are, they'll immediately achieve benefit, just like the son inherits property of his father. Okay? If he remains faithful. Yes. That's why I said that then one ruins all the piety and good results of anything that he have done before. Even fasting for so many Ekadashis, that also it's ruined, destroyed. That's why one should be very cautious. When we are doing something, we should know what we are doing and how it's supposed to be done. That's the point. That's what makes us Krishna conscious. So we should be very cautious. But as I said, these benefits, if you follow Ekadashi, there's nothing, no dana, yagya, vrata, tapa, nothing can compare to doing Ekadashi vrata. You don't have to do anything else. Everything else is just so insignificant compared to you just do Ekadashi vrata. And of course, within Ekadashi, we chant more, we read more, and it's all included. Twice a month, that's it. So why not doing Ekadashi vrata? And again, if we don't do it, you eat grains or something, how sinful that is. Extremely sinful. Extremely sinful. Yes. Yeah, if you're not aware, it's always said, like, let's say you commit murder, there are different degrees, no? If you do it willingly, that's first class degree. Punishment is more. If it's by accident or something, then you do get punished, but it's not as much. So people don't know, but they don't follow, they get some reactions. Too bad. They're not excused. They're even more punished because they're supposed to know. But they don't want to know. So the punishment is more. Just like it said, Brahmana commits sinful activities. He gets more punished than anybody else. It's very simple. No, all the sins, there are different levels of karma, different benefits, different reactions. They're all different. That's not all the same. So depending on consciousness. So if you're more conscious of something, like let's say you just like Okay, Krishna gives example to Nanda Baba when he's doing yagya for Indra. He's asking, why are you doing this? And say, that's our tradition, we're just doing it. So Krishna says, if you don't know what you're doing, then what kind of benefit you will get? It's not going to be as much. So if you know what you're doing, with which purpose, what result you're getting, so much greater benefit there is. Just like we go to holy places or something, we know the glories of the holy places, we are conscious of that, you get so much more benefit. Rather than it's just some agyata sukriti by chance, we're just there and we just do something, whatever it is. No, if you know something, greater the consciousness, greater the benefit. So both things, with the sins or punyas or whatever level of Krishna consciousness, depending on that, you get reward or punishment. Okay, we'll stop. So Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Premanande, Karashurata ki jai.